Alright, gamers. What's good, everybody? How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome, one and all, to the Speed Gaming stream, where we are in the middle of our Mega Man 4 online tournament for Speed Gaming Live 2025. My name is Tempest Mask 1000. Some of you know me as Steve, and I will be your commentator for tonight as we are within the first round match between Mrcab55 and CynanMachae. Oh, good, I've already botched it up. Yeah, Mrcab and Cynan. You can already tell we're gonna have a good time with just that swell start we had at the beginning, and then all of a sudden just slipped right into that momentarily thereafter. But with that in mind, folks, like I said, we've got a wonderful race on our hands, and you better believe I am excited to see what these gamers have in store for us today. And if everyone is ready to rock and roll, we should be getting our countdown started pretty dang soon. But for now, if you yourself would like to check out more about our current ongoing tournament, feel free to type in chat SGL25MM4 for more info. And with that, we will get this race started very shortly. So for now, let's get ourselves ready to rock and roll. Alright, folks, and we are off. So, it looks like both runners will actually be doing a little something interesting with a starting route diversion here. For those who do not know, the typical Mega Man for any percent speed run is separated into two first starting off stages, and we've got ourselves the Pharaoh first route, which is what Mrcab will be taking, whereas Cynan will be doing things with Brightman first. Now, one of the big reasons as to why Pharaoh Man is a solid starter stage is because most runners are usually going to want to go ahead and grab the balloon weapon, and this is where it is located. So what you just saw Mrcab do is actually a very interesting little trick with the rush coil in order to make that gap, involving a special little damage warp, which, upon having Rush summoned onto the ground, by taking damage mid-air, Rush will automatically warp right under to where Mega Man is, and it makes that jump extra easier, especially when considering you have that annoying enemy up above trying to shoot you down into that gap, and that is never fun to have happen, especially if you're starting off with this run. Now, of course, there is also the fact that collecting the balloon weapon also conveniently has us spawn near where the upcoming checkpoint would be located, which allows us to therefore skip a couple of rooms. So it is not only a very convenient tool to have throughout the run, but it is also pretty convenient speed-wise, let's say, for the Pharaoh Man stage. Meanwhile, Cynan is almost at the Brightman boss fight, and Brightman is especially known for his ability to stop time, and what we want to see them do is try to shoot him enough times to where he will not activate his flash stopper. Of course, a little flashing lights warning potential here in case he does manage to get one in. Otherwise, he will attempt to just shoot his buster. And for those that may or may not be seeing Mega Man 4 live for the first time ever, one of the big differences between this game and Mega Man 3 is that Mega Man got his Mega Buster upgrade as compared to the standard Buster, which now means he can do the charge shot. So the charge shot's obviously making its debut here in Mega Man 4, and unlike Mega Man 5 and some later on games, you will not lose your charge shot itself when you take damage here. So it is at its most convenient, but also not necessarily at its most strongest as compared to later entries. But all the same, both of our runners have cleared the bosses, and now we will be seeing a bit of a flip-flop going on where Cynan will be entering Pharaoh Man, and Mrcab will be entering Brightman. So, not really too much to explain at this point, but we can at least talk a little bit about the gimmicks. Of course, Brightman has that little brightness thing going where by shooting the Firefly Lantern bots, the room will become dark, thus making platforming a bit more harder and much more of a trial and error memory game for those that have played this before. That is, unless you shoot the firework bots that will then illuminate the room very quickly. We also have that little gumball machine, as I like to call it, and yeah, you just take a damage boost right to it to get up the ladder. Looks like Cynan did manage to get the balloon, however, so now they are on their way to the checkpoint and will be continuing on over to the spike surfing, if you will. Now, it looks like Mr. Cab will not necessarily be going right now for a special balloon strat that you can do in order to make this grasshopper section a little bit faster. But one of the nice tricks that does happen with the balloon, and you will supposedly be seeing our runners put that into action, is it is possible to stick a balloon into the wall and you'll still have up to 8 frames to jump onto it, so it'll still count as a platform to use. So it is very handy indeed, and will also just be very good for making some vertical sections a breeze. And so now both of our runners will be entering the respective boss chambers. So let's talk about the Pharaoh fight this time. We want him to do his Pharaoh shot, or Pharaoh wave rather, so that we can hit him with enough charge shots before he starts jumping again all over the place. Preferably, if he does do the jumping, it's going to be the shorter ones, or at least like the ones where he crosses a shorter amount of side distance, if you will. And it looks like both of our runners got some really solid fights out there. Cab now having fought and defeated Brightman using the Pharaoh shot, which in itself also has a charge shot function, but you can also do a nifty little double hit where if the charged Pharaoh shot happens to touch an enemy and you haven't released your fire button yet, you can still launch it, and it'll be its own charge shot as if it just comes out of thin air, which is very, very convenient. And so now we will jump into the Ringman stage, and this is what I would say is probably the most vertical of the stages, or at least considerably speaking, with at least with this starting section anyhow, but yeah, if anyone wants to fact-check me on what is actually the most vertical stage Mega Man 4 has to offer, feel free, chat, feel free, you have my full-on permission to put me in my place, if you will. Testify I'm truly a valid Mega Man fan or not. But with that, we are now entering the first of the hippopotamus mini-bosses, and something that our runners here can do is actually outright skip them. There are a couple ways to pull this strategy off. You can use the balloon, as both Mr. Cap and Cynan did, but you can also use the Pharaoh shot to shoot down the platform a couple of pegs, and then use that to get over and past the hippopotamus, like so. Now, that's not the only mini-boss that Ringman has to offer. It wouldn't be Ringman without a mini-boss that shows off some rings, and thus, well, a good old Pharaoh shot was more than enough to take it out. Now our runners are going to be using the Pharaoh shot to get past the other hippopotamus. We got some wheel enemies trying to rev up those engines, or something along those lines. I believe the actual reference is rev up those fryers and then something something my leg, but I shall abide from continuing that reference on the microphone and instead bring attention to these disappearing platforms that are basically the same thing as what we saw earlier on with the rainbow platforms at the beginning of the stage. And then our runners will go ahead and skip the next major ring enemy and into the Ringman boss fight. Now, both of our runners are, I'm going to say, they're pretty neck and neck as far as things go. There's hardly much time difference going on between Cynan and Cab, and that is absolutely impressive. But of course, with such... Oh, wait! Oh no, I spoke too soon! Oh, that is unfortunate. Cynan taking a death to Ringman, thus giving Cab a solid potential advantage in gaining some time over them. So yeah, that's gonna really change things up a little bit. But we'll have to see where the rest of this run goes, of course, because after all, this is a best of 3 going on, and even then, we also have our losers brackets, so just because we've got ourselves a winner and a loser to crown does not necessarily mean that it's done and done there, of course. So We're only just getting things started, baby. And with that in mind, Cynan now has defeated Ringman and will be moving forward onto where Cab is already gotten himself in Dustman's stage. This trashy themed level is going to have a couple of gnarly compactors that we'll be seeing pretty soon. Until then, we've got some rising junk platforms going on here, and you also see Mr. Cab making use of the flash stopper from Brightman, which not only stops time, but does allow Mega Man to fire his buster until the next, rather, time resumes, which very much puts this leagues ahead of Flashman from Mega Man 2, if you ask me. Unfortunate to say, too, because I think a lot of people do appreciate the time stopper. And I would too, but, you know, doesn't really give us much of an offense except for Quickman. Oh, geez, Cab cutting it pretty close there. And having passed the compactor section, yeah, that right there is a definite speed trap, considering the cycle of which the compactors move up and down, and you do not want to be crushed under those, otherwise that is instant kill, of course. And now we are moving on to the Dustman fight coming right up. Dustman can inhale a bunch of air before shooting out a junk cube. And I do apologize if that's actually supposed to be the official move name of what Junkman can do for Mega Man 7, and I've gotten the two totally mixed up, but otherwise, yeah, we just use Ringman's weapon, whittles out down, and that's the fight. Not much else to it. Cab got it pretty good so far. We'll be seeing Cynan getting to the boss chamber in just a couple of rooms. So far, things are looking pretty good as we have our first 4 Robot Masters taken care of. Whoop! Cynan getting a quick little magnetic attachment to that ladder by sheer accident. Alright, now we go into the Skullman stage. So this is where we will actually be seeing a nifty little platforming trick. One of the few clips that we get in this game coming up shortly. Or actually, okay, there we go. I was gonna say, it looks like Cab was just setting up for that. Nicely done. So yeah, the collision of those platforms can be clipped through thanks to the use of our trusty little balloon weapon right there. Something I've never fails to impress me just a little bit. And Cynan defeating Dustman. Coming pretty close on some low health. I imagine a body check would have been more than enough to dock him of another life, but thankfully managing to avoid such a potential outcome. Now, of course, we've also got Eddie within this game, and it seems like he wants to distribute a bunch of extra lives as of right now, so Cab not necessarily opting to do that. He's looking pretty good as things go. And once again, switching to the Flash Stopper a la Brightman to put our enemies in their tracks. Now let's see what Cynan goes for with, or see how Cynan does with the clip. Easy peasy, nicely done. And then moving forward into more of the level, coming right up. Meanwhile, Cab is about to enter the boss fight itself. And this is where we learn that Skullman is our obligatory shield weapon robot master. He will proceed to fire some buster shots, and then can also activate his skull barrier right there. We're just gonna have a little staring contest whenever he does that, because there is no way we can damage him during that. So one skull barrier is not too shabby for Mr. Cab. And now we will have that weapon for ourselves. Meanwhile, Cynan making it into the later half of Skullman's stage, so not too far behind. Still a fair decent bit of progress to catch up for after the unfortunate knockout during the first attempt of Ringman, but aside from that, whoop, okay, there we go. Yeah, still doing a really nicely done job with the platforming and all that good stuff. And switching into Dustman as the fight now proceeds. So on Cab's side, we have the start of Dive Man's stage, and we've got our good old water physics making its return. some more flash stopper on display for enemy control, and then we've also got the whale mini bosses coming up. And of course, Cab can also use the flash stopper to stop that thing right there, just as it finishes the teleport animation, thus putting it in a huge state of vulnerability and allowing for a huge mashing of the Buster to take care of that boss right there. Now, unfortunately, Cynan did seem to take a death against not Skullman, rather to say during the level, so that is absolutely tragic and will put them even further behind. But on the bright side, it does mean health is back to normal upon the start, so at the very least we can assure that much, as it usually do be with some Mega Man gaming. Yeah, rough start at first, but you never know with a Mega Man game. I always say it's never over until, what's it now, the big Met Daddy sings or something of that caliber. Something like that. Alright, now moving into Dive Man himself. Yeah, he's gonna try and torpedo himself around. We want to make sure he does keep himself as close to us as possible so that we can get the skull barrier nice and close right up in his face, and making sure that we just get that nice weakness damage going. Meanwhile, Mr. Cab trying to do a little bit of a jump manipulation, I believe, to nullify the heightened gravity jump height that comes from being in under the water physics. A little trick that would also be the equivalent to what runners do in Mega Man 5 for Starman's level. But yeah, with that taken care of, we now get into Drill Man's stage. And I'd say this was always one of my favorite stage songs from the Robot Masters. At least when I first played this game back in my days of the Anniversary Collection. Back in the good old days, or something like that. Moving down to Dive Man will be Cynan at this point. And it's a good time to bring up that there is another secret weapon within Dive Man stage that runners don't usually go for. It's called the Wire, and part of it being that you do have to make your way down a dangerous underwater spike corridor in order to reach that. And yeah, the checkpoint that you get yourself back to by the time you collect the weapon isn't as, let's say, advantageous as how it was with Pharaoh Man's stage. So yeah, and the Wire is a good weapon in my opinion, but it's not necessarily one that is as capable, let's say, as the balloon has proven thus far. So it is a very understandable pass up, if you ask me. Now moving into Drill Man's fight, and Mr. Cab proceeding to take on the big guy. While he goes underground, and we wait for him to start popping up before we start hitting him with the dive missile, a homing torpedo of its own kind that just tries to catch up to whatever poor sucker is going to get blasted with that thing, for lack of a better phrase. So yeah, very good Drill Man fight, because we want to make sure he does not drill too many other times, and it seems Cab has actually been getting some real good luck with that, so not many Robot Masters left. All we've got at this rate is going to be Toadman, but wait, there's more. By defeating Drill Man, we've also got Rush Jet, and so now we can use our best boy's ever so famous flight mechanic to traverse over some rather pisky platforming, and yeah, it's all well and good. Meanwhile, Cynan has completed the Dive Man fight, and will now be collecting their dive missile, as we then move into the Drill Man stage promptly after. For now, Toadman's level, we can talk about that rain mechanic. It is applying a force that is trying to push Mega Man away away from the platforming direction that we are supposed to go, and we'll make those jumps a little bit harder. But thankfully, with Flash Stopper, we can just say no to that, and there you have it. But of course, we got a little bit more rushing water going ahead, which will also try to make our movements go slower or faster. And now for a nice little mini-boss skip performed by the Flash Stopper. Of course, it still considers the boss's hitbox to be present, so we do still got to take a damage boost in that case. And same with here. Of course, we want to make sure we don't get pushed into the instant death pit that arena particularly has, so Cab making sure to try and do a backwards damage boost to make sure things are extra safe that way, and I do not blame him one bit. Coming up will be the Toadman fight, and this is where we do a little something similar to how it was with Brightman, except this time we're going to want to make sure that Toadman does not get to call off, or rather call in, his acid rain by doing that funky little dance. So nice use of the drill bombs, and I also did see that he tried to shoot a drill as Toadman was jumping in, which is always fun to see, but yeah. Not much else to it. So now Mr. Cab will be the first of this round to enter the Dr. Cossack stages coming right up. And this is the first of the Mega Man titles among our classic series to feature not one, but two enemy bases. So it seems that we'll be having a double dip of this new foe, Dr. Cossack himself. And so now we get our dramatic little introduction under some stormy weather to reveal the castle itself. And it is a snazzy looking castle, if I do say so. One which sadly does get blown up at the end of the Mega Man Game Gear title, which I'm sure not a lot of people remember until I brought it up, because I just so happen to be a runner of that game, and I will never forget the fact that Dr. Cossack goes through some very unfortunate property loss for no good reason. But it looks like we got Mr. Cab picking up a nifty little item that is placed at the left side of the start of this stage as we make our way inside the fortress, crossing the snow itself. And now Cynan will be entering Toadman. So once again, we've got a start of the stage that will have a force of rain trying to push back Mega Man, trying to make the jumps a bit harder, but with our trusty little Flash Stopper, we can just say nuts to that and move forward. Like it's just another jaunt through a mere sun shower, if you catch my drift. Some nice use of the balloons to try and make way to the ladders much faster, especially in the use of this here vertical section. And not much else to talk about right now, so once again, folks, this is a good time to remind you all that this tournament bracket is being conducted as per Speedgaming Live 2025. And of course, for anybody curious, yes, there will be a bunch of other brackets going on in the time leading up to the main event itself. So of course, kudos to Speedgaming for always hosting these wonderful community tournaments for us to partake in, both in person and remotely here. And if you'd like to see how things are going for the Mega Man 4 online tournament yourselves, type in !SGL25MM4 for more information. Now, Mr. Cab will be heading into Cossack 2, so... Meanwhile, Cynan has just defeated Toadman. Now they will be entering Cossack 1, so... Both of our runners at this rate are just a stage behind from one another. I do believe that there is always a possibility for the deathless streak that Cab has been maintaining thus far to potentially slip up. I cannot say I'm one to intentionally bring on the commentator's curse, but we'll see what happens because there's still quite a bit of game left. Only time will tell what the fates have in store for round 1. But I still think Cynan has a fighting chance all the same. So putting the balloon to use yet again, we managed to skip those couple of vertical rooms with some spiky blocks, some very pesky instant kill spiky blocks, because we all know how it is with Mega Man. He does not like spikes, and that has always been the rule of thumb with these games, sad to say. You do have a nifty E-tank in that room, as well as a couple of extra items, but of course that is quite out of our way, so no point in making that little detour, not in this competitive setting, nope. Alright, starting up our next boss fight. So this here machine is going to be divided into 3 parts, and we want to jump right in so that once the core appears, we'll be able to start hitting it with the Dustman weapon and try to take it out as fast as possible. Of course, Cab was not quite able to get it in one shot, but that's to be expected, really, because I do not think it's quite possible to do that in one go with this, but we should easily get a 2-shot right here, and that is Cossack 2 done and dusted. Alright, so now moving on to Cossack 3. As Cynan, we'll be making our way into Dr. Cossack 1's boss. Not really. I feel like I'm trying to actually remember what the boss's name is. Give me a second, folks, as I pop it up. Mothraya, that's the one. Yeah, I knew I had it in my head. I didn't want to make a mistake here, but I was very tempted until then to just say Mothman and call it a day. Because when is it not a good time for memes, am I right? Alrighty, so Mrcab entering Cossack 3. This is our auto-scroller stage. So the entire level itself is going to be one that you do not want to take an accidental death in, otherwise you're going to have time loss up the wazoo. But of course, Cab taking whatever precautions necessary to ensure that will not happen, as we are trying to scale these outer sections of Cossack's own lair, and passing by these gigantic fluffy clouds along the way. Alright, auto-scroller complete. Now moving on to some good old proper platforming. And with that, the auto-scroller procession continues. That was a nice good 2 rooms to not be auto-scrolling, am I right? Or am I right? But coming up, we've got quite the bugger of a boss once this section clears off. So we got Mrcab obviously preparing the Pharaoh shot for that, because having that omnidirectional firing will come in huge handy for that once we enter that chamber. So, as it goes, we have Cynan now entering into our next boss fight of Cossack 2. And now Mrcab entering the boss fight here. Some rather buggy, cockroach-like machines, a couple of wall crawlers, each of which will actually be sharing an entire health bar, so there's not 1, but 2! 2 for the price of 1. But again, the Pharaoh shot is very, very handy for being able to fire in all those different directions, and so it's a easy task made ever the more easier. And with that, we have Cab moving into Cossack 4, whereas Cynan has now made way into Cossack 3, so the auto-scrolling will now begin once more on the right side of our layout here. And yeah. Once again, I've officially run out of things to say, so I think it's as good a time as ever to tell the chat that if anybody's hoping for some Mega Man Legacy Collection, you won't find it here, but I would like to ask you all, if you're willing to play along here, which legacy collections do you think are bound to happen next, and state your reasoning why? Me personally, I think it would be absolutely awesome if we finally get to see that Legends collection potentially going about, but if you ask me, it's more than likely it's going to be Star Force. I would certainly love to see some Star Force, being a big Battle Network kid growing up, and also appreciating the Star Force games, but sadly never really trying to buy the other two titles, and only ever having Leo in my possession. But yeah, good times on that one. Alright, Mr. Cab has now entered Cossack 4's boss chamber and will be fighting Dr. Cossack himself. Alright, this glorified crane this glorified crane machine is easily manipulated. We just want to stand right below Dr. Cossack and lure him into easy firing range with our charge shot, and then take care of the boss just like that. And now he will escape into his second fortress, and oh wait, what's going on here? Oh my, we have ourselves Dr. Cossack's own daughter, Kalinka, who was actually kidnapped by Dr. Wily, and it turns out Dr. Wily was the main villain behind this plot this whole time. Who would have guessed? They gasp. So yes, we now have begun the Wily stages here, and so it goes that we now begin things with Wily stage number 1. Mr. Cab entering the back half of the game, our final 4 levels, still with a solid lead and no accidental deaths to boot. This is actually looking to be a very solid run on his part. Meanwhile, Cynan taking care of our wall crawlers and moving from Cossack 3 into Cossack 4. Great stuff so far from both of our runners here. And sadly, I do not know what that hashtag means, Cab, so, I'm probably gonna have to brush up on my lingo real quick. Alright, now we've got another underwater section here. Something a little reminiscent to... Oh! Thank you everyone. Let's go Mets. Of course. How could I possibly forget? No, I was just going to say, we've got an underwater section pretty reminiscent of Bubble Man, if I do dare say so. And then the dreaded Yoku blocks being confined to nothing but a pop-out block within a very, very specific wall setup. But of course, with everyone's best boy rush, we can just completely skip that. And yes, here at the 21st Met Family Gathering Reunion, let's go Mets, we now take on the big Met Daddy. Look at how big he is! Goodness gracious. Yeah, not much to write home about. It's gonna jump up and down, try to hide in his helmet, hit him with the Ringman weapon to take out his health as fast as we can. And that's done and dusted. Alright, Cynan, meanwhile, taking on Dr. Cossack. Same drill as before, try to lure Dr. Cossack's crane machine into a solid firing range. We will be seeing him try to use those side cannons, though, but it seems like Cynan's actually taking a bit of a different approach. Still a pretty solid fight, and getting him down first try. And this time around, we get the English text, so we can actually see the dialogue, including that comma that is not preceded by a space. Or rather, followed by a space, if I use my proper grammar correctly. Yeah, Wily number 2 for Mr. Cab happening right now. Trying to dodge some buzzsaw enemies. We got the rush jet going on to get ourselves on over and across that otherwise obvious death pit onto that ladder. a little bit of unfortunate platforming if we do not have the right kind of ammo to make that possible otherwise, so... Thankfully not an issue to be seen at all. Of course, you can summon Rush pretty early and still be able to use the Buster, so saving you the time of having to change into your normal Buster and, you know, losing a few seconds to the pause menu. And with that, Mrcab still making his way on up to the next of our boss chambers here. Coming soon, and not too soon enough, I would dare say. Cynan is currently going through the Bubble Man room with our lovely little scuba diving Mets. So let's go Mets. And now we've got ourselves our Wily 3 boss, which we're starting things off with a nicely used Acid Rain, the weapon from Toadman, before Mrcab then gets a solid quick kill going in from behind and hitting the weak point with Ringman's weapon and rinsing and repeating. Wily 2 is now done. We move into Wily 3. Meanwhile, Cynan jumping into the Big Met Daddy boss fight. And Creed, why would I want to imagine a universe with Wily having Ivan Drago's physique? That's a nightmare even for Rocky himself, or hell, Sylvester Stallone at that. Alright, with that. The Big Met Daddy is now being taken care of for both of our runners here. Mrcab, meanwhile, making his way on over to our boss refights. Heading on over to the teleporter, and there we go. It is now time to face those 8 Robot Masters yet again. Now, same affair as before. With most of these boss fights, however, we can now put Dustman's weapon to use with Pharaohman here. And we do want to try and get these fights completed to the leftmost part of the screen as possible, because that is where our teleporters will be to get us out of the boss rooms thereafter. So after picking up that handy-dandy health drop, Mrcab getting a pretty decently positioned kill. And now we get on to Skullman, so that we can still put our Dustman weapon to use for the Robot Master with the intended weakness to it, and get that out of the way, thus saving us some menuing time. Cynan doing a pretty good job, though, making it on over to our next boss of the Wily Castle tenure. And we see our good boy Rush getting in some platforms and helping our wonderful blue bomber, or red bomber in this case, getting a leg up on the competition, if you know what I mean. Whoop! Ooh, not quite making the jump, but that is also an understandably tight jump to make, and that enemy almost pushing Cynan back into the gap. That would have been very rude. It's like Wily's trying to not pull his punches after all, for all we know. Those dastardly little enemy behaviors he's programmed in them. Alright, here we go with Drillman yet again. So, Mrcab trying to use the Rain Flush, but sadly, Drillman deciding to get a nice little dig session going already, and, yeah, not really much to it, so... It's 2... That is, 2 now to 3 drills. So not quite getting as favorable of RNG as it was before, but still managing just fine. Cynan now entering Wily Stage 3. Alright. Toadman. Back to the basics with drill bombing and making sure he does not get that dance going. Back to Ringman. Second burst, Pharaoh shot, same as the first. Getting that nice little double damage in there. Nicely done, Cab. So far, Cab clearing out those Robot Masters, and now onto the Wily fight. Our first of the Wily machines, or rather, first round against Wily, I should say. Cynan not too far behind, though. In fact, starting the Robot Master refights right here and now. So we've got a bunch of Ringman clinging and clacking ASMR going on, no thanks to the hitbox of the Wily machine's first phase right there. Followed by switching into Drill Bomb and moving into the second phase and getting that main cannon down. And with that, Wily will now make his initial escape as we move on to Wily number 4. And so it looks like Mr. Cab is on the final stretch of this first round. So it is very likely he will be taking this. Again, just an outright impressive deathless run going on so far. But we're not quite finished just yet. Because moving into Wily number 4, we've got our Wily capsule fight coming up, and of course, time will be on the final hit, so... it is never over until the big Met Daddy sings, which is even capable of that sort of thing. Did Wily even think to program him with a singing voice? Who knows? But here we go. Pharaoh Shot being the absolute helpful tool that it is, just making the Wily fight a absolute breeze, and that will be it for Mr. Cab. GG, round 1 is done. Alright, so now we're going to round it off with Cynan. So we still got some bosses to go. Let's get our GGs going for Mr. Cab right here. Again, just a very solid deathless run, I gotta say. That was very impressive to watch. Very much so. And also managing, by the way, the sub 40 by just within that last second. Absolutely impressive. Alright. Back into Ringman for Cynan. Not too much ground to cover left. And it does seem like we're going to see this run all the way through, so... hold on to your hats and glasses, folks, because we've still got a Dr. Wily fight coming right up. But for now, enjoy the 7th inning stretch from Dustman. That. I think I can stop talking here for now, because I have been saying that phrase a lot. Because filler content is amazing. Said no one ever if anybody likes to watch Dragon Ball Z. Alright. Wily Machine Phase 2, here we go. Ooh, getting a brief miss. But still managing to have that fight salvaged, even with just a smidge of health left. Good stuff going. So now Cynan only has the Wily Capsule fight left. Very clutch fight indeed, though. Very, very clutch fight. And so it goes. That, we still got ourselves, just one last fight to go and all that jazz. So, folks, let's keep giving it up for Cynan all the way through. In the meantime, it seems I've been joined by Mr. Cab. Cab, hello.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going good.
Let's
Congratulations
watch
on
the
your
end of this because are we in
absolutely.
PB range?
We very well could be. Let's find out. So we had to see a quick use of a energy tank. But that is going to be it.
Nice.
GG, Cynan. Let's see if that was indeed a PB. Alright.
Oh no, he is a 39. He is a 39.
Ah, I got you.
Good.
Alright. I wasn't too sure myself, but that's all well and good.
Always gotta like hold on for that Wily fight once it starts up.
Agreed.
Look, all I want to say is let's not talk about the second snail. It was there. There were jumps. They happened.
Yeah, that was pretty bizarre. Not gonna lie, I was like, that backwards boost that you got in though the second time was definitely a safety worth taking. So yeah, making sure you don't get that accidental death happening. You managed to complete that entire run deathless, so good on you, man. Very well done.
Yeah, that was. Oh my goodness. There's like so many little things, especially in that early in that run, and I was just like, okay, I think this worked. Okay, I think this worked. Rush coil in the very first jump.
Man, how about that, huh? And we are also now joined by Cynan. GG with completing your run. Very sorry about those couple of deaths you had going there, but still, that was a very fine effort, if I do say so. You two were pretty neck and neck up until then, so I'd say you had a very strong start going, and if nothing else, good on you.
Yeah, rough middle stage, but after that it went alright. Like, GG.
Yep, GG. Yeah, I looked over and saw we were even into Ringman. And I was like, oh man, I gotta snap out of this.
Yeah,
And
and then one stage ahead after Dustman.
yeah, I saw one of the Dustman deaths from Brightman just not kicking in time, and that's most of what I saw. Everything else on my side was just I made
and
it.
then I game overed on Skullman, so that's youch.
Oh man.
Well,
Seems you had a pretty good run, so
This was it was okay. This it was my worst run of the day, although they're all 39s now, so that's good.
Yeah, I think overall you had some very good RNG going as well with the boss behavior. Your first foray with Drillman, for instance, was just like that one drill time, and that was it. Your second time around, at least 3 times, but still had it pretty good. And then with Skullman, well, aside from that one barrier, I mean, that was basically it in that first go.
There were a few times on my stream I had to like wave my arms around emphatically. What are you doing, game? But like everybody is their own worst critic. There's definitely a little bit of that in this run, like getting shot out of the jump in Pharaoh Man, even though Rush Coil was there to bail me out. Just a lot of things in Brightman stage. Like I think I had totems that were not shooting, and I was getting short grasshoppers the whole time. I'm shocked I got the Crusher in Dustman. Like doing that whole thing with Ring cleanly is actually relatively new in my bag of tricks. So I'm happy that worked out. I mean, like you said, the run looks good because it's deathless, and then you have runners that know what's going on, and you could watch this run and point to like 20 things that went wrong. But it's still cut 40, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Cynan, any other thoughts you'd like to lend on your performance today?
I'm all right with my performance aside from the three deaths and three stage back to back. But after that, it was fine. But even then, without those deaths, I'm not sure I could have done close to 40. So GG. That was hard to race.
Yeah,
All things
GG.
considered, you're definitely not out of the competition just yet. At the very least, we'll still be seeing you in the losers bracket. So you will at least be able to have a second chance, and your opponent will be whoever is. I believe it's whoever between Phil and Hypa.
Yes,
So,
both of us get the results of Phil and Hypa.
Oh,
which is very hilarious, I might add. Very coincidental.
No, I think that's just the way Challenge does their double elimination bracket, especially in like the first round. It just shakes out that way.
Well, should be interesting to see. Of course, that will do it for tonight's race. Folks, be sure to stay tuned because tomorrow we do have our race between Palpablade and Papat. I believe it, or just hang on a second, actually. Let me make sure I got it here. Actually, no, I stand corrected. It'll be Papat versus Iraqvet, and so that will be happening at 9 p.m. PDT or
It's 9
midnight.
Pacific. Yep.
Yeah, midnight Eastern time if you're East Coaster like myself. Oh boy. And then
Thank
aside
you
from that,
for catching me on that because I was about to move it 3 hours in the other direction.
no problem. And then of course we've got Sunday going on with Palpablade and Not Riley 4, and then myself against Conster. That'll be 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, that is going to do it for today for the Mega Man 4 online bracket tournament. And Cab, if anybody would like to follow you, where can they find you?
Twitch.tv, Mrcab55, just like it says there on the screen. Where's my window with speed gaming? Let me get back over here. Did we type the things with the stuff?
I'm not sure if we typed the things with the stuff.
Oh, the bot must not be on. So yeah, twitch.tv/Mrcab55 for myself. CynanMachae, is that you got your name on the screen, correct?
yep, yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
I knew it was something about Mache. I just didn't want to slip up after the first time that I completely butchered that. I'm so sorry, Cyan.
Don't worry, I have
That's
absolutely
fine.
no
That
idea how to
happened.
pronounce it either. I guessed.
But yeah, and as for yours truly, well, it says it on the layout. I think we all know where to follow me there. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We will be tossing it on over to another one of our speed gaming channels. In the meantime, thank you once more. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you would like to catch up on the bracket and things happening with Speed Gaming Live 2025 for our bracket here, SGL 25mm4. Of course, we've also got our challenge link that is just being dropped into the chat right there.
The challenge link. Yeah, definitely follow all the Speed Gaming Live stuff out here on the Speed Gaming family of networks. We can't have these silly races and tournaments without all the support of all the viewers out there. And Speed Gaming Live, of course, does have cash prizes. You can all donate towards those cash prize pools. That helps us, put on the events. That helps us encourage runners to show up. It's just great. It's fun. Let's have fun. I'm gonna go with let's have fun. Follow Speed Gaming.
Absolutely. And for all you YouTube watchers, thank you all for tuning in as well. And be sure to check out Speed Gaming Live if you yourself would like to attend in person. More details for the in-person venue and all the wonderful brackets happening as well. With that in mind, that's going to, again, once more do it. And we're going to go ahead and end it here. So for now, until we all next meet, have a wonderful, mega-filled day and the rest of your week and weekends